Hey guys, I'm working on our week 13 mastery videos. Tell you what, I sure hope that we do a lot more of these videos. Not because I love doing the videos, but because found out my microphone doesn't work on my laptop. And in the middle of a pandemic, microphones are a little hard to come by. So the only microphone that Walmart had cost me $100. So I'm hoping we do lots more of these videos. But anyway, this video, let's see, we're working on... let me see, I'm pulling up the paper right here. We can choose between three categories here, and it says we're not supposed to duplicate, but I don't know what anyone else picked, so this may be a duplicate, it may not, but hopefully no one else is doing it on the same thing. And it's kind of a mix of things. So we started out looking at these wall sections. Let me pull one up here. And so although I don't want to talk much about the wall sections, what I really want to talk about is the exterior elevations. But I'll tell you how I got to appreciate the exterior elevations was through these wall sections. So this one we were looking at was C2 of AE 514. And you know, at first glance, it was kind of hard to tell exactly what this was, you know, what was going on. I can see that it's, you know, a little pop-out section here, but didn't really understand what that was. So they gave us another page to investigate. I think that was AE 306, yeah. So this is the full height wall section, and we get a little better idea of how this pop-out is occurring. But still not a great idea conceptually of what that does for us. To me, it kind of looks like, you know, you rent those motorhomes, and when you want to have dinner, you push a little button and the pop-out comes out, and then you have dinner, and then you push the button and it goes back in. I highly doubt this one's automated like that, but I was still trying to figure out what it was. So I found it on the floor plan. Let's see here. Oh, area A, upper level. Okay. So I found it, and I could see where it was, and then if we go to the front page here, we got this little rendering, and that's where it really kind of came to light. You see this rendering, and you see the pop out, and you realize, oh, okay, well, that's what that is. And realize that's kind of a cool design feature. And I can tell that the architect here is trying to, you know, maybe find a crossroads of design and functionality. Was curious about some other office buildings that might have things like that, and so I looked up on Google plain commercial building, and you can see this one in this picture here, how, you know, plain Jane that is. There's no variation really at all on the wall. They've tried to incorporate a little bit of a visual element here, but not real exciting. And then I typed in cool looking commercial buildings, and then we look at this one, and you've got these pop-outs here. You've got this really cool canopy up above. You got a canopy at the entrance, a lot of glass. So the design of that is obviously much more appealing than the other one. And if we look at our design concept here, I can see how this would have been a pretty plain wall if he wouldn't have added in that little pop-out. But I think the real trick is finding design and functionality. So if I go back to the floor plan, let's see here, area A floor plan, and try and figure out where the functionality comes in. I say, okay, well, what he's done is created a conference room, and he's added some square footage here. So not only does he create a cool exterior feature, but he adds square footage to that conference room, and it gives the conference room a little bit of a different feel when you walk inside there. You got more of a 3D view because you're sticking out a little bit past the rest of the wall, and it just feels like you're in a different space. So I think he did a really good job of changing up that space a little bit. And actually, if we look over here into plan area D, we can find the other pop out, and sure enough, he's doing the same thing. This is a different room than the others. You've got all these office spaces, but when you step into this room now, you've got the break room. So it feels a little bit different. So he's got the functionality meeting design there. And as I was in this section of the building, realized that this section of the building only has 2 floors, and all the other sections have 3 floors. And actually, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the semester, how when we were looking at the grading plans, and in this rendering, you can see here how this building goes down, or the site of this building goes down. And so that was the second feature I really liked about this building, is utilizing the existing landscape to create a cool building. So this lower floor kind of disappears as the ground comes up, and then when you get into this part of the building, it's only 2 floors right there. And I thought that was a great use of the existing terrain to create this design of the building. The third feature I wanted to talk about was this cantilever. We did mention that a little bit in one of the earlier lessons that we were going into, and we talked a little bit about structural beams in one of the lessons. And if I pull up one of these structural areas, so that was area D. Okay, so we've got the floor plans here for area D, and you know, from the structural floor plans, just looking at it, it's a little tough to tell exactly where that cantilever starts, but as we pay attention to the beams, it becomes pretty obvious. We've got a 24 by 55 beam from this column to this column, but then from this point on we have a 30 by 116. So that beam is 3 times the size of the other beam. So just through deductive reasoning, we can say, oh, well, I assume that from this point out, that's where that cantilever starts. You can see we've got this really big beam across here, 36 by 231. That beam is catching these 2 beams on the side, and so that's what supports that whole cantilever. And so if we go back to our rendering here and think about this a little bit, yes, it adds a really cool look to the building, but what functionality does it have? Well, if you're on this side of the building and you want to cross over to this side of the building, if that wasn't there, you'd have to walk uphill all the way up to the parking lot, across, and then back down. You can see there's a set of stairs here to get to the other side. It is much nicer to be able to cross over that building in this shaded area and get to the other side, that little courtyard area there, without actually having to come all the way out to the parking garage. So I thought that was a really good use of functionality and design. And it's been really fun to study this building, and hope to see you guys again. Thanks.